At a time of uncertainty in Afghanistan and in the Middle East, I flew out to Kabul to see inside NATO's mission in the Afghan capital city. For me, it's my second visit to Kabul, a city of remote beauty, brutal history, and a country that perseveres. On my last visit, a complex attack on a G4S compound rocked the city. After listening to the fighting, I watched as the survivors were escorted to new accommodations. So I landed in Kabul last night, and today begins our whistle-stop tour of the different NATO bases in Kabul. The first thing you notice in Kabul is the air. In the winter, poor Afghans will burn anything they can get their hands on, making Kabul one of the most polluted cities in the world. The smell sticks to your clothes. It's not something I'd missed. Hamid Karzai International Airport is the site of NATO's biggest compound in Kabul. From here, we began our itinerary, visiting each of the camps around the city. Taipan, HQRS, NKC, and Camp Karga. Our first stop, just across the runway through an aircraft graveyard, including one that was supposedly hit by a Soviet mortar decades ago. So this is where the Pumas are based over here in Taipan, and they're basically the taxis for NATO forces moving people between all the different compounds in Kabul. In truth, to say taxis is to vastly undersell what these guys do, ensuring that cargo and personnel can move freely and safely across the city, sometimes in challenging conditions.
I think before I came out here, I didn't quite appreciate just how crucial we were to the troops on the ground in all of the various locations around Kabul and the surrounds. Absolutely critical to making sure that they can move in and out, move around the theatre, and that they get that mail in as it comes off the air bridge. We can ensure that that gets delivered and they can keep in touch with their families.
Liam told me that one of the things to look out for are the famous Afghan kites. You might know about them because of the book The Kite Runner.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when you take off in the area here is just how breathtaking it looks around. You can see the mountains. I mean, it's a very congested area of airspace. There's a lot of users using the same airspace, not least, this is the favourite pastime of the Afghan children in Kabul, these homemade kites that they fly. Amazingly, a testament to the operator skill, they managed to get them up to several hundred feet, and these can be a bit of a natural operating hazard operating in the area. We've caught quite a few of them, not a major problem for the aircraft. We bring it back, quick inspection, and remove the kite or any string that's attached. But it's a regular reminder that the guys need to keep on their toes and keep their eyes outside of the cockpit at all times, see where we're going.
After making some friends in the Puma crews, they strapped me in and let me stand by the door for an unforgettable night flight over Kabul. The amount of lights and activity came as a bit of a surprise. So this is the rooftops of HQRS, which is the headquarters for Resolute support. And this is where there's lots of different nations have their headquarters for operations here in Afghanistan. There's so many different countries and nationalities here that it feels like a military version of Disney's Epcot. You can just about see some of the houses in Kabul and some mountains when there's a clear day, just over the tops of the buildings. Resolute support is the continuing mission in Afghanistan. It's propped up largely by the US, And it represents a shift in focus, from Western forces fighting with the Taliban to now assisting and advising in the training and decision-making of indigenous forces. It's not a new mission, but Trump has brought it into the limelight in recent months, casting uncertainty over the US's future involvement.
The future of Afghanistan and nations across this region will not be decided on the battlefield. Ultimately, there will be need to be a political solution, and we're working with the president and we're working with a lot of people right now on a political solution decided by the people of the region themselves.
So for obvious reasons, officers here in Afghanistan can't answer questions on the elections or Trump's talks with the Taliban. In reality, it's business as usual for the British forces in Afghanistan.
Yeah, so the company's mission here is to enable and to protect advisor missions into the Green Zone. So the majority of personnel on this camp are all NATO advisors, and they work in the Afghan MOD and other governmental departments. The role of my soldiers is to plan the mission, to plan the security for the mission, move the advisor securely, and then create a secure environment for that advising mission to take place.
For Tupara, it's the first time they've deployed since the kinetic tours of Op Herrick in Helmand province. The modern tours of Op Toggle, Britain's name for its involvement in Afghanistan, are a different tasking altogether.
The whole enable piece, and I keep mentioning it, was alien for us really when we came out. Our core function as paratroopers and everything that we've done in the last 10 years is about being enabled. So all the work that happens in the background in 16 Brigade is about getting us to where we need to be with the right kit to be able to do our job. This time we've trained for and are now delivering a mission whereby we are enabling everyone else's activity. So we've had to adjust our attitudes, we've had to be more flexible, perhaps more positive and engaging than we have had to be in the past. And it's been a really useful learning experience for us. And to be perfectly frank, I think we're better for it.
For most of Tupara, the younger soldiers, this is their first tour. Many are 18 years old and were born after 9/11. It's crazy to think that for every day they've been alive, there's been a NATO presence in Afghanistan. The longevity of the various support missions in Afghanistan is evident. There's cafes, shops, weekly markets, and a whole economy propped up by Western militaries. After a brew, Tupara took me on one of their daily patrols. Escorting advisors to the Afghan Ministry of Defence.
I'm going to take command of the mission today.
The drive through the Green Zone took us to the Afghan MOD, an impressive building set within a large garden area.
Happy days. So this is the patrol arrived in the Ministry of Defence, which is where 80% of the patrols that we protect actually go to. As usual, Emmett, as the actual patrol commander now, takes responsibility for leading the patrol into MOD itself. Maintaining people's focus is probably our key challenge here. The guys get that this is operations and they get that it's serious, but when you're conducting 100 missions plus a week to the same area, which is what we're doing, there is the chance that, because we're human at the end of the day, people will lower their standards or drop their guard momentarily. We can't afford for that to happen. I'm not sure who we arrived at the same time as there. Yeah. Somebody important.
Yeah.
Hey guys, how you doing? Good. Some of our Estonians who are in the platoon attached to us are obviously on a mission down here today as well. How you doing? Yeah. So this is the NATO Advisor Room, or NAR, also known as the SSC, which is Site Security Cell. And this is a place where they've reinforced the outer perimeter and reinforced the doors, so it's somewhere that we can lock down in the event of an incident.
On top of that, we also act as an operations unit for the taxis moving in and around the green zone.
And in the meantime, Call of Duty.
And loads of Call of Duty. It's a quiet day today.
As we come down this corridor, we can see 2 Guardian Angels conducting everyday duties, one on a conference room door.
We're looking out for any atmospheric changes. Been working here for a few months now with the mentors. So we're just looking for a baseline. Anything above that, suspicious behaviour, we'll flag it up and we'll extract from the mission. That's basically us.
What's the biggest challenges you're finding?
Probably monotony. Things here are pretty stable. So getting too relaxed maybe, that is an issue, but
Yeah.
we're mitigating against it. So.
After bowing to the Afghan flag on the way out, we made our way back to the vehicle. I've not heard that in like a decade.
So today what you saw was fairly typical of an AFP mission within the green zone. That was a call sign delivering advisor force protection to a group of advisors going to the Afghan MOD. And you'll have seen from the mission itself that patrol was planned, delivered and overseen by a junior NCO, by a Lance Corporal. He will take them through to their meeting, secure them whilst they're there and extract them when they're finished. And all of that responsibility lies with that junior NCO. So during the pre-deployment training, it shows that we are a different kind of force initially. We are quite a war-fighting and aggressive force, and we had to adjust our mentality in order to prepare for this task. And I think we got there quite quickly. And it took some mental jiggery-pokery in order to get there. But the primary thing here is that we still have to be ready to conduct any kind of aggressive combat action, but our presentation is slightly different. That's the only difference. So the experience that we gain here will only help in our future combat operations.
The next day, we took a flight out of the city. So we just landed in Camp Karga, which is west of Kabul, and it's way up in the mountains, and it's up here that the Afghan National Army officer cadets are trained. They arrived just in time to see the Australian Army doing a fire drill. the main role for NATO here is to offer advice and assistance to the Afghan National Army Officer School, what's often called Sandhurst in the Sand. In previous years, the training for Afghan officer cadets was conducted by Western forces, but now the syllabus is taught by the Afghan National Army. It's a more hands-off approach from NATO.
So the cadets that go through the Afghan National Army Officers Academy here will complete just under a year-long course, and on completion of that will go off to branch schools to develop specific skills, whether that's infantry, airborne or commando training, before then going off into the provinces to fight against the Taliban and ISIS within Afghanistan.
To see this in action, we loaded into a wagon with some Aussie force protection. They're taking a Danish advisor up to a training area to see how an Afghan exercise is going. It's important to remember that while major warfighting in Afghanistan is over for Western forces, it's as real as ever for the Afghan National Army. And as well as high casualty numbers, they have to contend with soldiers going AWOL and difficulties in ensuring that soldiers on the ground are actually getting paid.
We're going to go and see that they've set up their control point, so their CPs, and that their radios are working, and from here we should be able to move out to them doing patrols. Assalamu alaikum. You okay with us looking around? Thank you very much, sir. You good?
And I also chief of health.
Yeah.
Some people sick.
Yeah.
Come near to me and I give them go to the near to the doctor.
Oh,
Yes.
that's good. Nice to see. And the other guys?
This is the headquarters. Obviously, it's all just an exercise, but in a few months, it won't be.
So I advise him and
Dr. Asti?
I can. We're planning on the training, conducting the training. Do you have any? Usually we have the most elaborate. We don't. We don't today. They usually make really elaborate sandboxes. You call it that?
Model pit.
Model pit. Yeah. Sand models. Yeah.
Over the Afghanistan society.
نگاه امی که ما اینجا تمرین میبینیم به خاطر تمرین به ما مفید است که ما یاد بگیریم و بتانیم که از هر مرز بوم افغانستان ما دفاع بکنیم و از حریم ازی و دشمنان را جواب پاسخ بدیم که دیگر در خاک تجاوز اقسام تجاوز در خاک صورت نگیرد. به خاطر ما احساس نسبت به خاک داریم، به افغانستان داریم، چون افغانستان من حیث خانه ما است. مربوط ما میشه که از خاک ما دفاع بکنیم و مربوط ما میشه که خانه خود آباد بسازیم و هیچ کسی دیگه نمیتونه که خانه ما را بیرونی بیای آباد کنه. ما باید خودمون آباد بکنیم و به خاطر که بستر همه پیشرفت در یک جامعه خود امنیت مهیا می سازد، چون چیزی که ضروری است در افغانستان وضع امنیتی است و هر قدر که ترینینگ درس‌های نظامی بیشتر باشه همه قدر بستر تمام فعالیت‌ها در کشور هموار میشه.
Many of these Afghan officer cadets will soon find themselves in remote control points dotted around the country, sometimes surrounded by Taliban. Before the flight back into the city, one last chance to enjoy the stunning scenery and breathe some cleaner air.
It's pretty hard to breathe.
The next day, we took a quick flight to NKC, a compound just minutes away, by road or helicopter, but helicopter's the safer route. NKC stands for New Kabul Compound. It might be the newest compound, but it certainly isn't new anymore. The Mongolian army do guard here and brought with them a traditional yurt. And this is where the Quick Reaction Force is based here in Kabul. QRF are the guys who get called into action when something goes wrong. They convoy out in foxhounds and sort out whatever's happened. It's important then that the vehicles are kept ready to go at a moment's notice.
Our main job is to maintain the foxhound fleet in Kabul. And obviously we've got, I think, 46, 47 foxhounds, so it's a big task. They have a 28-day check. So during the 28-day check, this is one of the jobs we'll do: jack it up, check underneath the vehicle, check the general condition, and then jack it back down. After there, we'll check the inside, check the engine compartment, make sure the wagon's good to go. It's basically like a small MOT.
During my visit, QRF was the responsibility of 2 para. Early in their tour, they were called to a vehicle-borne IED, otherwise known as a car bomb. It was morning rush hour on the 13th of November.
In this case, the priority was, first of all, to locate the casualties, by which this time had been moved from the actual incident site into a local national hospital. So we were tasked to go to that hospital, recover those casualties and treat them if required, and then move them into one of our medical facilities.
Through experience of previous tours and seeing casualties, and then seeing the effect it can have on some of the younger members of the team, as soon as I got the task, I knew that was going to be one of my priorities. I don't need to expose all 9 men to what they're potentially about to see, and with a vehicle-borne IED, it could be loss of limbs, and that's what the reports that we were getting through were injuries. So it's the first time I've ever actually been into an Afghan hospital. I was expecting quite grim circumstances, but what I was met with was quite a well-organised, well-rehearsed doctors and nurses, and it was a very clean hospital. So the initial treatment that I could see was very good. That they were in a stable condition, all 4 casualties. To say they'd just been in a big vehicle blast, they were in a stable condition and they were ready to be extracted pretty much as soon as we got in there.
All 4 survived, so it was great for me to be able to say that we deployed on the ground and saved 4 security guys. One was a lower leg amputee, but he survived.
The Afghan doctors and nurses were actually more than willing to pick up the stretcher and help extract him, which showed that they still wanted that primary care over the casualty. I was happy that the way the guys reacted and how quick we were at reacting was what we needed and what we expect as paratroopers.
When you're going out to these incidents, obviously there's a number of things sort of running through your mind. You know, what are you going to see? What are you going to face? And the fact that the guys got out there, they recovered some of the people off the ground. They're doing a great job out here in the first instance, but recovered them back to hospital and they've survived is a great chuck up for the blokes.
The 4 Canadian security contractors survived the incident, but 12 civilians were killed, including 3 children.
تیلا که ما که زیر افتادیم خب بالاخره یک وقتی که متوجه شدم که منطقه کل خاکباد است شیشا بدر 1-2 تا تفلکا در این منطقه شهید شده دیگه مسجد ما را بخی تکه تکه کردن.
The flight back to the airport was the next day. On leaving the compound, I spotted a kite in the colours of the Afghan flag. The last engagement on our itinerary was a foot patrol down to Tak Air, where the US advised the Afghan Air Force. For the Afghan National Army to be successful in the future, it's vital that the country can build up and offer its own air support. So this is Tak Air, which is just along from HKIA, and it shares the same runway, but basically Tak Air is where the US are advising the Afghan Air Force. These A-29s are flown by the Afghan Air Force, providing air support to ground troops.
The guys are working quite closely with the mentors, and they will be in the room with them while they're having some quite high-level discussions. So the guys actually occasionally move into strike command, and they're there while the mentors and their Afghan counterparts are discussing actually making an airstrike, which is quite interesting for the guys to be doing that on a day-to-day basis.
The British Army are providing support here for the first time, as the US Army moves some of its focus to Bagram Air Base, where, just as we arrived in country, the Taliban launched an attack. Our patrol back into HKIA was our last view into Op Resolute support, before boarding a C-17 and flying above the mountains out of Kabul. For the city, 2019 had been another violent year. And for me, after another tour around Kabul, at a time of uncertainty in Afghanistan and in the Middle East, I'd seen how Op Resolute support is changing, and how it's staying the same. In a country that is as at war with itself as ever, where commitments could change at a moment's notice, or stay the same for years. Thanks for watching this episode of Access. Be sure to subscribe. Next time, we're off to Somalia.